Morning, everyone. It's Matt Donahue with your weekly update from Mission Financial Planners. Before I get started, I want to send a huge thank you to some of our partners that helped us out last week with our first client appreciation event of the year. Specifically, Kara Murphy and the team over at Kester Investment Management, and then Brian Ray and the team over at Symetra. Thank you so much. Our clients had nothing but great feedback, and we really do appreciate all the help that you guys provide as we're helping people hit their goals. Um, let's jump into it. So a lot happened last week. So first time in 24, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow each posted a return of 2% or higher. It pushed each index to a record high, and it went a long ways towards offsetting some of the more modest and negative returns we've had over the past few weeks. Despite mixed progress on inflation, the Fed announced they are still anticipating 3 rate cuts in the second half of the year. That in turn sparked a lot of the gains we saw. Japan's central bank finally tightened interest rates for the first time since, wait for it, 2007, right? They've held firm for 17 years. It brought the rate slightly above zero. And it had kept rates below zero since 2016. So despite the shift, Japan's rates are way below the world's average. Home sales rebounded significantly, according to the National Association of Realtors. 4.3 million homes were sold. That is a 9.5% increase over the previous period. And also, anxiety is down a little bit. The VIX, which is the CBOE Volatility Index, fell about 9% for the week. And overall, going back to March 11th, when it hit its intraday high, it's down 18%. U.S. companies bought back shares at a much faster pace in 2023 than they in the fourth quarter of 23 than they did in the third quarter. Share repurchases in the S&P 500 totaled $219 billion with a B billion dollars, up 18% from the prior quarter's $186 billion. For the full year of 2023, though, buybacks were down by nearly 14% from what we saw in 2022. And a report scheduled to be released on Friday could clear up some of the recent uncertainty over the trajectory of inflation. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, PCEPI, I think I'll just say the words, is the U.S. Federal Reserve's preferred gauge for tracking inflation. Although that measure increased in January at the slowest pace since March 21, 2 more recent inflation reports have produced figures that were slightly higher than expected. So a lot's coming out this week. Today we have new home sales from the U.S. Census Bureau. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, we have the S&P Case-Shiller 20-City Composite Home Price Index, Consumer Confidence Index from the Conference Board, and durable goods from the U.S. Census Bureau. That's all coming out tomorrow. Nothing on Wednesday. Thursday, fourth quarter GDP, third estimate, U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, University of Michigan Index of Consumer Sentiment, pending home sales from the National Association of Realtors, and then the weekly unemployment claims from the U.S. Department of Labor. Friday, even though it's Good Friday, you're still going to see that PCEPI index from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. Philosophy quote of the week. This is all about freedom and wealth are free. And this is from Epictetus. Freedom isn't secured by filling up on your heart's desire, but by removing your desire. So, the story that I always relate that to is someone goes out and buys a sports car, and once the thrill of it wears off, they're like, oh yeah, it's a car. So we all know someone who went out and maybe had a midlife crisis. My wife likes to say I did this, but I disagree. They go out and they buy a nice car, maybe the first nice car they've ever had. And after a while, the thrill is gone, right? What Epictetus is saying is essentially, don't get consumed, right, by the things that you want, and that's really the most important thing, right? I mean, because things aren't always going to go the way that you want; they just aren't. So don't let them consume you. Tax tips for the week: some common tax filing mistakes. We actually have 15 common tax filing mistakes. So I hope you brought a lot of coffee. Just kidding. I'm just going to take you through 3 of them. And these are things that we could actually help you with. So if you have a question about this, let me know. Miscalculating the basis of investments. So using the wrong basis can cause more taxes to be paid than should be. And for those of you who aren't sure what basis is, it is just what you paid for the asset or investment plus any dividends or capital gains that have been reinvested. So make sure you calculate it correctly, because when you go to sell, hey, it's your sale price minus your basis, right? If your basis is miscalculated too low, IRS is going to get you for a bigger tax bill, right? Because it's a bigger gain. If it's too high, well, they might not catch it this year, but you never know. You might get caught in an audit. And that's, for all of us who've gone through that, that's no fun. Um, the real basic one, there's a ton of other stuff on dependents, failing to file when a refund is due, sign and date your return, make sure your return is the right address. There's all that kind of stuff. But one of the other ones that you want to make sure is make sure your social security number and the names agree. It'll create confusion on their end, which can lead to different issues. So just make sure they agree. And if you're not going to make it on time, maybe you don't have all your data yet for whatever reason, file for an extension. Okay, and here's why. If you owe taxes and you don't file an extension, the taxes owed could have a 5% penalty added onto the tax return. Taxes owed with an extension only have a 0.5%. So in the investment world, we call that basis points, 50 basis points of a penalty that's attached to the taxes. So they give you a financial incentive to file for the extension. Just make sure you do it, right? It'll save you a ton in penalties, help you get the right return, prevent you from going back and forth a whole bunch of times. It's totally worth it. Just don't forget to do it, right? Just don't forget to do it. Health tip of the week, exercise and chronic disease. Okay, so what's chronic illness? What's chronic disease? Well, those of you who've worked with us, you know that one of the credentials I hold is the Chartered Life Underwriter. I also hold credentials in long-term care planning. And so when we look at the different things that life insurance and long-term care insurance and so on can help you with, the number one thing people ask me about is chronic illness. What happens when I become chronically ill? Now, that might not be apparent right away, because what you're really asking is, what happens when I'm dealing with a long-term care scenario? And if that is the case, well, guess what? The definition of long-term care is you are chronically ill. So let's talk about some of the more commonly experienced chronic illnesses and how exercise can help. So first thing is arthritis, and I can relate to this. My left knee, it's no fun. If I'm just walking around, or maybe I have a day or two where I'm not very active, it really starts to hurt. Hey, if I get back out there and go for my regular walk, a short run, stuff like that, it doesn't hurt. So exercise can help ease pain. It also builds muscle strength around joints, and that'll help lessen joint stiffness. It can also help you move better too, because you're a little stronger. You're able to offset maybe some of the mobility limitations you're dealing with. Asthma. Well, more exercise can actually cut down on the number of asthma attacks that you will experience. How many of you ever heard that the best thing to make sure you don't have back pain is to have a strong stomach? Well, that's true. Dementia. Believe it or not, exercise can improve thinking skills in people with dementia. People who move regularly are at less risk of dementia and problems with learning and thinking. So stay active. It keeps your mind sharp. And then depression and anxiety. There's a lot of data out there on this that talks about how your body reacts soon after a workout. It's really, really good for you. It's really good for your mental health as well. Other things that can help with diabetes, heart disease, and osteoporosis. Osteoporosis can cause bones to thin and weaken. Some exercise like fast walking and lifting weights can help build strong bones and slow bone loss. And of course, it's not maybe the bone loss itself that's the issue, it's all the other stuff that comes with it that's going to be the issue. What about safety? How intense should it be? What do I got to do to get started? Talk to your doctor. That's the best thing you can do. That's step number one for pretty much all this. Talk to your doctor. Figure out what you can do. Start with that, right? Start with that. Just remember, there's this great meme out there that says the first time you did this, it was terrible. The first time you did that, it was terrible. It's this list of like 20 things you've done the first time. Well, that's the same for exercise, right? The first time it might not go as well as you want, right? But don't punish yourself. Don't try to push through it. Don't injure yourself, right? Talk to your doctor first and find out what you can do, and then start there. But the key is start. So get a hold of your doctor, set up time to go and talk to them, get some blood work done too, and make sure you're all good to go, right? And then off to the races, maybe, right? Maybe. That's it for the week. Again, I want to say, I know I said this earlier, but thank you to all of our clients and all of the people who came to last week's event, Thursday night at Alamo Brewery. It was just fantastic. And especially thanks to our team here at Mission Financial Planners who did all the legwork to make that happen. Thank you so much. But otherwise, everyone have a great week. Have a safe Easter if you celebrate Easter. We will see you next week for our weekly update. Thanks again.